The clips you're about to see are unsettling. They reveal a chilling truth that at times, you're never truly alone in your own home. If you're new here, like this video, share, and subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so you'll know the moment our next chilling story begins. I'll be honest, I probably chased more women in college than I should have. But one night changed everything. I went to school in California. Open culture, loud nights, too many shortcuts. My sophomore year I just pledged Pike. By mid-semester I was tired of the same faces, the same stories. So I made a Tinder. It wasn't long before I matched with a girl who seemed fun. We messaged for a few days and planned to meet at Tap House, my go-to bar. Pool tables, cheap drinks. I went early to warm up. An hour passed. I figured I'd been stood up. Then a message. She was there. She arrived apologizing. We drank. We played pool. She was Latina, loud, a heavy drinker. I tried to keep up and lost track of myself. She asked for my Instagram. 10 seconds later, she'd sent explicit photos. I stared, confused, drunk, and she typed, "Your turn." If I'd been sober, I'd have asked why we were sexting 5 feet apart. But I complied. We laughed it off. That should have been the end of it. Hours later, the bar emptied. She invited me to her place. I agreed. We Ubered to Oakland, the first tiny red flag I ignored. When she opened the door and stepped aside, I went in first. The apartment was pitch black. Then the lights came on, and my world narrowed. 2 massive bald men in tank tops filled the doorway. Another stood directly in front of me. I couldn't think. I couldn't move. I froze. The man in front began reciting my name, my birthday, my age. He said the girl was 17. He said the pictures I'd sent and received were now a felony. They told me to do what I was told. The men behind me grabbed my phone, my wallet, my keys. They pressed the paper into my hand. "Write down your address. Then list names and numbers of anyone at school." They wanted contacts. My fraternity. My classmates. One man held my phone so I could scroll. All 3 of them leaned in. I felt trapped, a chess piece with no moves. Then, drunk and terrified, I saw an opening. I ran. I smashed through the same door I'd entered and tore into the night. Oakland streets felt like a maze of danger. I begged a house to let me use their phone. I called 911 and told everything I could remember. An officer took a report and then drove me back to the apartment. They kicked the door in. The place was empty. No signs of anyone having been there. Weeks later, after a full investigation, police called it probably gang-related, but no arrests. Years have passed. I don't use dating apps anymore. Sometimes I think the whole thing is a scar that will never heal. Maybe my story vanished into Oakland's long list of crimes. I was 21, home alone a lot. My parents' house sat on a small pond, right behind our backyard. On the far side, a public town park. Big properties. Quiet block. Upscale. This was back when I was in college. My parents worked a lot. I had the house to myself more than not. It was a random summer night. I can't even say if it was a weekday or the weekend. I was in the sunroom, my favorite room in the house. Windows open, breeze moving through. I was curled on the corner of the couch, nearest the window. Then, splashing. Soft, steady, coming from the pond. At first I thought maybe geese or ducks fighting. But the sound kept going. Too heavy. Too regular. I lowered the TV. I pressed my ear to the glass. The splashes sounded like someone swimming. Someone trespassing in the water. A hum joined it. A low, casual humming from the dark. I stepped out onto the deck and flipped the backyard light on for a second. Just a flash. Just enough to expose a sliver of the pond. The noises stopped. Someone had seen me. I didn't confront them. I stepped back inside. Locked the door. Texted my brother at college. No answer. I left the TV on and watched it because I couldn't stop myself from looking. Then, a sound on the deck. Closer now. Heavy breathing right outside one of the windows. My stomach dropped. I flattened myself against the couch, hiding in plain sight. Silence. Then a deep voice, right outside. "I see you." My heart felt like it stopped. I couldn't tell if I should speak or stay hidden. So I blurted a name, a neighbor's name. "Paul?" No reply. Only the muffled sound of barefoot footsteps moving away across the deck. They faded into the dark. I stayed flat on the couch, petrified, for minutes. Eventually, I forced myself up and checked every lock. All secure. Still, my hands shook. I bombarded my family with texts. My dad told me to turn the backyard lights on and look. "Be the man of the house," he said. I crept back out onto the deck, a large knife in my hand. The boards were wet. There were barefoot prints, half-dried, leading to the side of the deck. I followed them. Then nightmare. Just over the rim of the deck, eyes in the top of a head, peering up, staring at me from below. He froze the moment our eyes met, then turned away. I ran. I dialed 911 before I even reached my parents. The police came. They checked the yard, swept the property. They asked if we had enemies or problem neighbors. They left after a quick search. That night, I shuttered every window and ran the AC. When morning came, sunlight felt like salvation. I don't know who that man was. I don't know what he wanted. All I know is the imprint of those eyes at the edge of the deck, watching. I never saw him again. But the memory stays, a shape in the dark I can still feel. Every summer breeze, every creak of the deck, makes me glance toward the water. And for a long time after, I slept with every light on. Let me preface this by saying one thing. I'm not insane. I know how it's going to sound. Paranoid, unstable, maybe even delusional, but everything I'm about to tell you really happened. It began with a face, or rather faces. Each one looked ordinary at first, but when you stared too long, something was off. 3 months ago, I ended things with Caleb. Almost 2 years together, and it should have ended long before that. He wasn't violent. He never laid a hand on me. But he was controlling in that slow, suffocating way. The type that sneaks under your skin until you don't recognize yourself anymore. He monitored when I was online, asked me the same questions twice in a day, waiting for me to slip. Everything was a test, a trap. When I finally left, I did everything I could to vanish. New number, deleted socials, different apartment. I thought I had escaped. Then came the barista. It was an ordinary Tuesday morning. I stopped at a small cafe near my new place. The barista smiled at me, but there was something wrong with her smile. It didn't reach her eyes. She tilted her head and said, "Morning, sunshine." My chest tightened. That was Caleb's word. Not sweet, not affectionate. He used it like a weapon. Sarcastic, mocking. "What's wrong, sunshine?" I told myself it was coincidence. But then it happened again. A few days later, I grabbed a rideshare to work. The driver kept sneaking glances in the mirror. Finally, he asked in this calm, conversational tone, "Did you ever figure out what you're running from?" I couldn't breathe, because Caleb said that to me once. Dead serious. After I told him I needed time. Ever figure out what you're running from? Now a stranger was saying it. And it didn't stop there. A woman at the grocery store brushed past me and whispered, "You don't get to disappear." A man on the street muttered, "Still wearing your hair that way." Someone in my own building hummed a tune and then said, "You always liked this song." The same song Caleb blasted whenever we fought. Different faces, different voices, but the same look in their eyes, like they all belonged to him. I thought I was losing my mind, so I broke down and reached out. Not to Caleb, but to his sister. I told her, tell him to stop. Because at that point, what else could explain it? Maybe he hired people. Maybe he paid someone to repeat his words. Her reply chilled me more than anything else. "I don't know what you mean. Caleb's in rehab. He's been there 6 weeks. No phone." I didn't believe her, until she posted a picture of him, hollow-eyed, sickly, holding a 1-day sober chip. So it wasn't him. Not directly, but somehow it still was. One night, I stayed late at work. Didn't want to go home. The apartment didn't feel safe anymore. Not because of anything inside, but because of what might be waiting outside. At 10 p.m., I finally left. Head down, headphones in, no music playing. That old trick, so you can still hear footsteps behind you. When I turned onto my block, I saw him. A young man sitting on the stoop across the street. Hood up, head bowed. I would have walked past, but he spoke. Chilly night, huh, sunshine? My stomach dropped. He didn't even look at me, just stared at the ground like he was reading something no one else could see. I forced myself past him, got inside, locked every bolt. I sat awake for hours, listening. At some point, I drifted off. When I woke up, my doormat was flipped over. On the underside, scrawled in shaky pen, "You can change your face too, but I'll still know you." I ran to the bathroom and threw up. That same day, I booked a hotel. Didn't even pack. Just left. The room was small, claustrophobic, but it felt safer than home. Until 2 a.m. 3 slow knocks. I froze. Waited. 3 more knocks. I crept to the door and peered through the peephole. A woman stood there. 40s, maybe. Expression blank. Eyes locked on the door. Unmoving. Silent. I didn't breathe. Eventually, she turned and left. In the morning, I asked the front desk if anyone had been up there. They said no. No guests. The entire floor was empty. That's when I understood. These weren't strangers. They were messengers. Fed words. Fed memories. Fed pieces of him. Caleb didn't need to follow me. He didn't need to watch. He just needed to linger. Through other people. Through their mouths. Through their eyes. Not stalking. Something worse. Graffiti carved into my reality. So I moved again. Changed my number. Dyed my hair. Vanished. For a while, it worked. Until last week. Walking home from the bookstore, a woman brushed past me. She didn't look at me. She didn't stop. But she whispered, still hiding behind books, sunshine, and kept walking. I don't think this will ever end. Maybe Caleb paid some underground network. Maybe it's become a game. Maybe strangers are competing. Who can get closest without touching? Who can scare sunshine the most? I can't trust anyone's face anymore. I can't trust any voice. All I know is this. He's still here, and he always will be. My name's Adam, and to be completely honest with you, I'm lost right now. I won't dump my whole life story on you, but here's what matters. My family situation is a mess. For 3 years I've tried to stay as far from home as possible. My old friends, the ones from high school, they've changed in ways I don't like. And my hometown? It feels empty, like it has nothing left for me. I'm about to start my senior year of college. And the truth? I have no idea what I'm doing after that. No roadmap. No plan. Just drifting. Last year, that drifting took me to Berlin. Don't even ask me why. Maybe I was searching for some kind of place or direction. Maybe I just wanted to disappear. One night, I was at a bar called Ria. Alone. Nothing unusual there. I was getting ready to leave when I felt my pocket. Empty. My apartment keys were gone. Just my luck. I stumbled outside, rain starting to fall. I walked back to my apartment anyway. Locked. No way in. Too late to get a replacement set. So what do? Most people might call a friend. I started looking for a place to sleep. By then it was pouring. I finally ducked under a bridge. It wasn't comfortable, but at least I was dry. At least I was safe. Or so I thought. As I drifted off, I heard something, faint voices across the river. I sat up, blinking through the rain. On the other side of the water, 5 men. A little boat tied off nearby. They didn't notice me. At first I wasn't sure what I was seeing. But then the briefcases. The duffel bags. Hands exchanging them. I was watching an actual drug deal. In the middle of Berlin. At 3 a.m. And I was the only witness. My German isn't great, so I couldn't understand the words. But the body language said enough. Something bad. Something serious. I wanted to move. Find another spot. But moving would draw attention. So I stayed frozen. Waiting. Then one of the men shouted. Aggressive. Pointed a gun at another man. Silence. Hands went up. Fast talking. The man at gunpoint was being stripped, searched, his belongings taken. That was my breaking point. I couldn't sit there anymore. I slowly stood, tried to slip away, and then, a shout, in rough German. Someone's there. My heart stopped. I didn't look back. I just ran. Hard. They were shouting behind me. More words I couldn't understand. But one phrase cut through clear as day. Don't shoot. I ran until my chest burned. Until I threw up. Until my legs nearly gave out. They didn't catch me, but they could have. Easily. Sometimes I still think about that night. How close I came to dying on a wet Berlin street under a bridge. All because I lost my keys. And sometimes, I feel like I've been running ever since. My family almost never travels. We're homebodies to the core. So when my aunt suddenly suggested a trip to one of Michigan's Great Lakes, everyone was shocked. But we all agreed. New memories. A family first. My cousin somehow booked a massive Airbnb. It held all 18 of us, like a miracle for the price. The house sat right on the sand. The water stretched so far, it looked like an ocean. Most of us stayed in the main house. But because of our size, some were sent to a second building behind it. A 2-story garage with bedrooms upstairs. My 3 cousins and I were assigned there. At first, we didn't care. We spent the first day on the beach, soaking in the view, sitting in the hot tub, laughing. But night felt different. When we finally stepped into the garage, the air changed. The space was old, neglected. Carpet in the bathrooms, damp, smelling of mold. Stained sheets. A door latch so flimsy it rattled when you touched it. The main house was spotless. This place was forgotten. My cousins refused to sleep on the beds until we washed the sheets. I offered to do laundry. The machines were tiny, one set at a time. It meant a long night ahead. We went upstairs to wait. Maria complained about being stuck with the worst part of the house. While she talked, a heavy feeling crawled up my spine. I'd felt it before, that creeping intuition that something bad was about to happen. I warned my cousins to stay alert. They listened. We'd all lived through a break-in once, back in Detroit. Around midnight, the first load finished. I went down alone, moved it to the dryer, carried the warm sheets up. They looked so clean that everyone wanted their bedding washed too. So I kept going, up and down, machine to machine. By 2:37 a.m., we were finally done. Beds made. We were exhausted. Nikki insisted on leaving the light on. The others drifted off. I stayed awake on my phone, finishing some schoolwork. I'm a light sleeper, always listening, even when I'm half asleep. Then, a deafening bang shook the garage door, like someone threw their full weight against it. I sat up, heart hammering. My cousins didn't stir. I tried to tell myself it was wind, but it was too heavy for that. Silence. Then another crash. The building trembled. No animal, no gust of air could do that. 20 minutes later, a third boom. This time my cousins bolted upright. Nikki whispered, "What was that?" I said, "I don't know, but it's the third time." We texted my aunt. It was 4:11 a.m. She woke my uncle. He went outside. We stayed upstairs, paralyzed, until there was knocking at our door. It was my uncle, but he wasn't alone. My dad and our older male cousins were with him. Their faces were grim. He told us to grab our things. We were moving to the main house. Then he said it. "There's someone on the property." My stomach dropped. We stuffed our things into bags and rushed out. Inside the main house, the family was awake now, murmuring in the dark living room. I told them about the first 2 bangs. My cousins confirmed the third. Then my aunt spoke. When my uncle went to investigate, she followed. He shouted, "Hey!" at a figure standing behind the garage. Right then, the main house door slammed shut. No wind, just slammed. She panicked, thinking someone had slipped inside. She ran to wake my dad, but no one was there. No one they could find. Then my uncle described the man, standing behind the garage, not hiding, not moving, just staring. When my uncle called out, he didn't flinch. He simply turned, walked away, and vanished. Not into the dark, into nothing. No crunch of leaves, no footprints. Gone. My uncle isn't a storyteller. He's grounded. Serious. That's what made it terrifying. Then my brothers spoke up. They'd found 2 jester cards. One in the main house, one in the garage. The one in the garage looked twisted, almost demonic. Maria said jesters symbolize mockery, and the loud booms happened around 3 a.m., the devil's hour. It felt like we were being taunted. My uncle checked the ground for prints. He only saw ours. No strangers. Another cousin drove down the road, searching for someone fleeing. He found no one. We refused to go back to the garage. We crammed into the main house. Floors, couches, anywhere. My mom gave up her bed for us. The second night was worse. Around 4 a.m., my mom woke on the couch by the big windows. She heard footsteps on the porch. Slow, heavy. She kept her eyes shut, too afraid to see someone staring in. Then the basement door rattled. Weak lock. My brothers and male cousins were sleeping down there. Someone was trying it, shaking it, pushing at it. My mom ran to the basement entrance. By the time she reached it, nothing. The boys were still asleep. That was our last night. We'd planned to leave Tuesday. We left Monday instead. On the way home, my mom found out I'd been going downstairs alone for laundry. She thought someone might have been watching, waiting, and when the trip stopped, they started knocking. Theories flew. Some thought it was a neighbor trying to scare us off. Others whispered about something else. Something not human, because a normal person would run when spotted. But this man, he didn't run. He just watched, and then disappeared. We contacted the Airbnb host. She said she'd review the footage from the camera above the garage door. We never heard back. It made us wonder, did she know him? Was it a neighbor? Or something else entirely? When we first arrived, my sister and cousin passed a woman on the beach. She stared coldly. No smile. No greeting. The house was isolated. We'd been polite. We didn't deserve this. It was our first family trip, and maybe our last. Even now, we still talk about it, and no one wants to go back. It was a normal Friday afternoon at my high school, or at least, it started that way. I was walking down the hallway with my friend, Emma. She was talking about what? I don't even remember. My head was somewhere else. Home wasn't great. School wasn't much better. I was just trying to make it through the day. As we passed the lunchroom, I suddenly had to use the bathroom. I asked Emma if she needed to go too. She said no, she'd wait outside. I pushed open the bathroom door. Immediately, I noticed it was empty. Totally empty. Weird. This bathroom was always crowded. Always. I shrugged it off and went into a stall. I sat down, trying to ignore how quiet it was. Then bang. The bathroom door opened and shut. Abruptly. Footsteps. Someone came in. But then silence. They didn't move. I told myself it was nothing. Probably someone hiding from a teacher or admin. Happens all the time. I stood up, buttoning my jeans. My eyes flicked to the scribbles on the bathroom wall. Random quotes. Rants about teachers. Normal stuff. Bang. The door again. Opening. Closing. I assumed whoever it was had left. I pushed open the stall door and stepped out. Emma was there. But she wasn't smiling. She was pale. Eyes wide. Who was that? She asked. I frowned. What are you talking about? The person, she whispered. The one standing right behind you in the stall. My blood went cold. There was no one in there with me. I said. Stop messing with me. I'm not, she snapped. Her voice shook. I came in because I decided I needed to go. And when I looked at your stall, she swallowed hard. There was someone in there with you. Shoes touching the back of yours. Like they were pressed up against you. I felt dizzy. I told her again, no one was there. But then I remembered. I had heard the door open. And close. Twice. Emma swore no one had left. Not until she came in, seconds before I stepped out. My stomach sank. I didn't believe in the paranormal. I never had. But Emma's face, she wasn't joking. She never looked that serious. I found an admin. Told her what happened. She brushed it off. Said Emma was probably messing with me. But I know what I heard. And Emma knows what she saw. It's been years now. I'm 18. And I still haven't forgotten that day. Sometimes, when I'm in a bathroom stall, I still feel like someone's standing right behind me.
I was 6 or 7, a little kid living in our old house in Suffolk County, Long Island. Upstairs had once been a separate apartment. An old woman lived there before us, but she'd moved out, and now my older brother Luke and I had the whole top floor. Our room was huge, 2 crawl-in closets on opposite sides, overflowing with toys, board games, piles of stuff. One toy stood out, a plastic race car. It had big buttons on top, honking sounds, revving engines, a cheesy Little Rock song, and the lights flashed when you pressed them. It had been Luke's gift when he was little. We'd had it forever. One random night, Luke and I were in bed, not yet asleep, and then, like a jump scare, the car went off. Loud, revving, lights blinking in the middle of the room. I shot up, terrified, accused Luke of doing it. He laughed, swore he didn't. The toy stopped. Silence. I lay back down, unsettled. Eventually, I drifted off. Weeks passed. Another night, we're both in bed again. A thud in the dark. Luke grinned, whispering about ghosts. I yelled at him to knock it off, or I'd get Mom. But then, we both saw it. The toy car. Lights on. I bolted down the stairs, crying for my mom. She came up, listened to me babble about ghosts, looked at Luke, and told him to stop scaring me. He said, "How could I turn the lights on from my bed?" That night, I slept in my parents' room. For a while, Nothing happened. Until one night, Luke wasn't there. Sleepover at a friend's house. I was alone. I'd already hidden the toy car in the small bedroom across the hall. Mom kissed me goodnight. I begged her to keep the door open. I rolled onto my side, eyes wide open, too scared to sleep. Then a sound from down the hall. I flipped over to face the door, and the toy car rolled in. Lights on. It stopped in the middle of the room. I screamed from my stomach, pressed my back against the wall. Mom and Dad thundered up the stairs. The car sat there on the floor. I sobbed that someone had pushed it. Dad checked every room, every closet, under every bed. No one there. The car didn't have a motor. It couldn't move on its own. Dad smashed it with a hammer and threw it in the neighbor's trash to make me feel better. I slept in their room for weeks. Eventually, he made me go back upstairs. But I never forgot. This is why I believe in the paranormal. Because some things don't stop at death.